pinnacle of human perspective.
This video came from YouTube.
It's trending on Twitter.
Why is it not on the news?
The Mande1a Effect.
Wait, what?
It's the Mande1a Effect.
The lion will lie down with the lamb.
Come on! I'm starting the show here. We're rolling.
Unbiased and on the fence.
Welcome to Unbiased and on the Fence. I'm Shane, joined here with Allison Coe, the much-awaited interview we've all been excited about. How are you doing today, Allison?
Man, I feel the pressure now. Damn, Shane. No, I'm great. How are you, Shane?
I'm doing wonderful. Let me make sure our volumes aren't blowing people's ears off there. Okay, so I remembered to turn it up this time. Okay, let me see here. So you have the coolest job in the world. I know it's got to be taxing and it's got to be super, I don't know. It's got to wear you out, but it's got to be rewarding at the same time, right? Doing the QHHT stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all of those things. It's fun, rewarding. I get to meet new people every single day, which is just amazing. I'm creating my tribe, and it's really similar to what you do, to be honest. I mean, you're sitting there, you're talking about new things every day and expanding your consciousness and reaching out to people and creating your tribe. And there's nothing better, except for Saturday when you don't have to do it.
Definitely. Yeah, well, you know, I found it really interesting that I could tell you went through sort of the same thing with the reason I named my channel Unbiased and on the Fence is because you get all this information and you have to learn to sort of put it on the shelf. And I mean, you really have to do that with getting all these different things. You got to just set them on the shelf, start making little clusters of information, right? And like, well, that kind of validates that and that validates that, but you can't really get sucked into too much probably, right? You have to kind of stay unbiased.
Man, that is exactly right. Exactly right. I wouldn't be any good at my job if I was inserting my opinions about everything and my judgments about everything, or even at some point, you know, I just lose the judgments completely. It's like, okay, well, I didn't know mermaids existed until right now. I guess maybe they do, you know?
That's hilarious.
Keeping in check all the time. It's a really good practice. Really good practice. And you and I have to do that for work, you know? We have to do that in order to do our jobs well, but you know, to do that in your everyday life is also important, I think.
Yeah, that seems to have really broadened my understanding, just to be more open-minded about really anything, because as soon as you think you have it all figured out, then something comes and blows that all out of the water, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm always in that position. Oh, thought I knew. Guess I don't.
Well, I still find it interesting that I still have people that I come across that are like, you know, Allison Coe predicted this and this and this, and I'm like, she always says she didn't predict anything. She's simply passing along the information. It's not a prediction, you know.
No.
You're not a prophet, right?
Not at all. Can't predict. Don't want to. Don't want the pressure. It's just, yeah, reporting what's coming through. What's coming through on my couch.
So do you think this is going to be, you know how like a lot of your sessions say it's going to be this big event that everyone sees, but is it going to be, you think it's going to be at precisely the same time? Because I'm already seeing reports of people saying they went through, maybe not the event, but an event of some sort, you know, where they sort of, something happened to them. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting because I have been getting these reports through these sessions. I've been getting these reports about the event for over a year now. And every single one, when it talks about the event, it says this is going to be a global event where everybody will witness it. So when we have reports that somebody's witnessed it, and then another person like me is sitting in Portland, I'm like, I didn't see anything. Then it indicates to me that they were probably experiencing some of the tendrils that are coming to the earth right now of this energy, and they must be probably really tapped in and feeling it, because some people do have that innate ability to feel energy stronger than other people's, or get visions that are stronger than other people's. And so they're probably witnessing something pretty strong and pretty crazy. But so I had a session the other day and we asked about that. Like, what about people who are reporting that they're experiencing this? And they said, because I don't just want to assume that they're not experiencing something ever, you know, it's always, I always sit from the position, well, it's true for them. And so who am I to say it's not true? It's true for them. And so we asked about that. What are they experiencing? And it definitely said the tendrils of this tsunami of love is how it was described in this session. And I thought that was beautiful. And so they're experiencing this, and then they're thinking it's the real thing, but they are going to be so surprised and so knocked over when they get the bulk of this energy. So it's something way bigger than what they're experiencing, but they're definitely experiencing something.
That's awesome. Every time I hear a report like that, I'm like, man, why didn't I meditate more? I missed it, or, you know, feel like that. But of course,
there's no missing it at all. Not at all. Like, people are like, what if I'm asleep? What if you're asleep? So what? You're still going to experience this. You know, it'll either wake you up or it'll change you on a level so that when you do wake up, you're going to be different. Your world is going to be different. So you're not going to miss it. You know, there is no missing this.
Right. I've awakened and felt like something happened. Like I just got out of surgery. I'm like, did it happen? And I'm like, you know, wondering and stuff.
That's pretty.
It felt like I was hibernating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Did I sleep through it, man?
So I came across Dolores Cannon about a year ago as a result of the Mande1a Effect. There was this video that was talking about how she had talked about the Mande1a Effect years before, and I'm like watching it, and she's talking about the split. And is this information you're getting, do you feel like it jives with what she was getting about, you know, these Earth splitting, or do you think things have changed? Because I know one of the sessions she had said she would be here for it, and then when she passed away, I didn't know she had passed away. I was like, I got to set up a session with this lady, and I was so excited. And I found out she passed. I'm like, no. I had to experience her dying like way after the fact, because I just felt like she was alive. You know what I mean? So, do you have any thoughts on that at all?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I do definitely get information about there is already a new Earth. There's multiple different. So there's Earths and different dimensions of these new Earths, and they exist right now, and that at some point we'll be able to leave and go to them. So I do get information about that, but that is not what this event is. This event is raising everybody up to their next level. And so for some people, they are at this top level, if you will, of waking up and being open and holding this level of love. Those are the ones that can choose at that point to leave and go to a new Earth that matches their vibrational level. But
that really goes along with what Angela's with her son and already being at this other place. So this event is just in preparation of the even bigger event then. Really, right?
Right. So this is to get us ready for an ascension, if you will, a leaping to higher dimensions and higher levels of consciousness. And so it raises everybody up. It's like a mass awakening for the Earth, but it's also anybody who's already awake, they don't lose out. They go to their next rung on that awakening. And so whether that's, you know, starting to manifest instantly or control their DNA to start healing themselves and spreading light and healing others, you know, it's different for everybody as far as their individual level. But this will be a global event, but how people react to it will be an individual thing. Meaning it depends on where they're at vibrationally. And then after that, depending on how long it takes them to get to their full awakening, then they'll be able to kind of dimension hop, you know, go to this new Earth, leave this Earth, this planet, and go somewhere else. So it's really interesting getting more details about what this all looks like. Because at first I thought it would be, you know, when I when I first started getting information about Two Earths, and it wasn't through hypnosis, it was like a knowing that came to me when I was an accountant. I saw it as a split, like a Vesica Pisces, two overlapped circles, and we were splitting apart. And this was before I ever found out who Dolores Cannon was or anything. I was spiritually awake, absolutely, but I didn't know her work. And I just kind of got this download of information about this. So I definitely saw it as a splitting at that point. But the information that we're getting now, and that I personally have been getting for the last year, is that, yeah, it's a this energy is coming, and it's a gradual raising of everybody's vibration after the event. Well, not, I mean, it'll come, poof, and then it'll wake people up to their next level. And then when they get into their next level, it'll be a gradual, change for them to get to this new earth. That's awesome. So that's now, and it's cool to have that. And then
go ahead.
Sorry, and then, so I said, I'm getting this, but then there's all these other sources that are getting this information too, which I think is so cool. So cool.
So we talked about the event. Do you get much of, I guess, people talking about after the shift, the bigger event, in our future, what the new Earth is like or anything along those lines with like what Angela and her son Christopher was talking about, the healing domes and all that stuff?
Yeah, I definitely get information about the new Earths and where these people could be going. And sometimes one client may be going to a dimension that matches them, a higher dimension where we have crystalline light bodies, and so they get to experience that. Other people, it's interesting, I get clients that are going home to where they came from, their galactic home. And that could be a totally different planet, not described as a new Earth, if you will. So there are people who will just use this as a way to get home. They're here to experience this event and to help out on Earth. And then when they're done, they'll be like, I'm out of here, and they'll go back home to their other existence, with their family, with their star family and stuff. And then we have others who go to more of a Edenic, planet, a Garden of Eden type of planet. And they live a physical life, but it's very much of a higher dimension than what we see here, much described as a fifth or sixth dimension. So very cool stuff. I get a lot of information about all of those. But it's really interesting because right now, and for the past several months, my sessions, the people are asking these questions. And so we don't ever... I don't ever just guide them to this stuff, to the new Earth or the event stuff. This is people who come to my sessions and they have their list of questions already set up. And so they're not asking so much about the new Earth right now. They're all asking about this event. Everybody wants to know about this event, but it might be one question out of like 30 that they have, and the other 29 are about their life and about getting relief and getting help and getting guidance and clearing stuff. So when I get comments sometimes on my shows about, I thought QHHT was supposed to help people and all you're doing is mining for information about the event. I'm like, no, that's not what happens. It's always primary. Always in these types of sessions to get help for the individual first. In fact, the higher self won't give any information about the event or any other curiosities unless the person has that first. Always.
Right. So it's always the client's choice about what they want to explore. I mean, don't you have to like come up with so many questions beforehand that they're going to ask?
Not so many. I mean, some people have 16 pages and some people have so it's definitely dependent on the client. But what I'm saying is that even if they have a question about the event, they won't get an answer unless they're focused, unless they've already gotten a bunch of answers about their healing or where they're at right now, what their purpose is right now, and getting into alignment with their path right now and their healing and their wellness and their relationships. Once that, because that's primary, they have to actually be here and get all of that help and do their job that they signed up for here. And then maybe they'll give them a little nugget about, a curiosity about the event and stuff. So that's what's fun, is like making sure that they're taken care of. You know, I couldn't possibly get this information from them if they weren't taken care of first.
Definitely. Yeah. One thing I noticed was when I came across Dolores Cannon's work, she let me know about the whole 3 waves of volunteers. I read that book, and then I was totally blown away. I'm like, that's definitely me. You know, and then I came across that information that was similar in the Law of One, talking about wanderers coming here, and it was really the same thing, just different terminology. And I was like, that's me. It's totally me. So are more people realizing their sort of role, that they're here to help out with this?
No. No, they're like, okay, so they have the desire to learn the role, but they're still kind of in the dark about it. They're like, I think, but then what they do is they have a session like this, or they go see somebody, and they get the kind of deeper answers. So they know the tip of the iceberg, but the bulk, all of the details are revealed in sessions like these. Or, you know, there's other ways to get that. There's a million ways to skin a cat. But basically, that desire is there. That's what we're witnessing, is that desire to know more, know where they came from, know what their purpose is here. And that really helps. That really helps. Getting that clarity in your life really helps you kind of go through the slog a little bit differently. Gives you more.
I can understand that.
Right.
That's definitely. So how long does a typical session take for someone? I mean, I've seen them, I guess you're not supposed to go over a certain amount of time, but sometimes they go a little longer.
Well, yeah, I mean, so basically a session, once they're in hypnosis, it lasts for about 2 hours. And that's just the type I do. I mean, there's tons of different types of hypnosis, but the type I do, it lasts about 2 hours. And people, you know, what I get are people who like get up in the middle of their session, they have to go use the bathroom, and then they come back, and they're, you know, we get them back down, and but really it's like over 2 hours, and then you're pushing it. You're really pushing it. You're going to be, just kiss the rest of the day goodbye, and you're going to be so out of it, man. We have about 2 hours, but there's several hours on the front end where we're talking about their life. We're talking about what's the most important thing to them right now, what they want to change in their life, what they want their future to look like, what are they passionate about. And so that helps me kind of guide their session in a way, even though Sounds
like one session can take all day then, pretty much. I mean, it'd be hard to do 2 a day, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be a long day. Yeah, no, 4-hour sessions, and I can only do 1 a day because I got
a life.
Yeah.
You got a family and a life.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds awesome.
It is awesome, and you know, this is a really weird. Just from a business background, this is a really weird business model, because you're basing it on 0 repeat customers. Every client is a new client coming through your door. You have no return clients, because that's the point of this hypnosis. You don't want people to have to return. Basically, you're giving them so much, you're guiding them through the higher self portion and trying to get them so much information that they don't need to have another session anytime soon, because they have all this information that they have to integrate into their life. And so they don't need to come back. And you're also, my goal is to empower them to connect to their higher self outside of a session. And so it's like, if you were my client, I'd be like, all right, so how can Shane like do this on his own? How can Shane get answers from his higher self outside of the session? And they'll be like, well, he needs to, you know, stop and meditate more often. And okay, well, how can he tell when it's his ego versus his higher self? Because that's what we really want to know, is not have you second guess, because surely you're tapped in a lot of the times, but you know, maybe not putting that much credence into what you hear, or that's the normal human state. And so what we want is tangible ways for you or for any client to take and trust the information that they're getting outside of the session and start using that to guide them through their lives. So it's pretty cool stuff, but there's no repeat clients. And so, yeah, from this business background, I'm like, what the hell? I'm gonna get on it, man.
But word of mouth, that's probably pretty good, you know, and people are like, it helped me so much, you've got to go see her, and that would probably be good for your business.
Word of mouth is, yeah, that would save my bacon. Are you kidding? Yeah, word of mouth was the only way I had clients. Yeah.
Well, is there a, you were talking about, you know, you ask how they can connect and know in the future. Is there an overarching answer that you get for most people? Is it meditating, or is there anything in general?
Basically anything that gives them a space of flow and a quieting of the mind. So they try to design it for that unique individual. If that individual is more inclined to needing to move their body to connect, to give them space and quiet, then that's what they give that individual. If another individual needs to actually silence their body and quiet their body and sit in stillness, they give that to that individual. If it's somebody who's more artistically inclined, playing a guitar or drawing, you know, or artistry in general, they give that to that client. So it's very much individualized. And then they always say this, they need to start trusting, you know, so it is a matter of trusting what you're getting. And then I try to always get like something tangible. You know, well, what will it feel like? How will they know? Can you give them a sign each time? And so for some people, the higher self will be like, it's this feeling we're giving her right now. And so that's something that they're getting internally, and that's something that they'll know. So we always try to, oh, my neck. Anyway, we always try to, welcome to a red-faced person. We're always trying to get them specifics for how to really trust that, you know, something tangible. Because I don't like vague crap, you know. I'm like, how, if I don't get it, then how am I sure that they get it? So I'm always trying to get really in there, try to get them some answers.
And that kind of ties into what I've seen with, you mentioned artists and things like that. And, you know, I'm sure like some people who are painters that say, you need to spend more time painting. And because you sort of get in this meditative state, you know, that right part of your brain, that creative part. Absolutely.
It's that flow. What we're doing is they pay attention to what that client needs to do to get into that flow. And so for some people, it's, like I said, for some people it's moving their body. For some people it's being creative. For some people it's gardening. For some people it's walking in nature. For some people it's dropping and meditating. It's completely different for everybody how they get that flow. And so that flow is super important, getting the ego kind of quieted down and getting tapped into that energy that's always connected to them. But the hamster on the wheel is chattering. And so they can't really get it.
I know. I try to meditate and I get that all the time. It's like I can even feel my eyes moving around. It's like I got rapid eye movement while I'm trying to meditate. I'm like, settle down.
So for you, it might be something like moving your body. I don't know. Are you artistic?
I do music and art and everything, and all of it makes me feel that connectedness to something higher. So it just depends on the mood.
Through those things, we get those light bulb moments, you know, like, ta-da, oh, you know, moments of relief or clarity or guidance or the answer to something we've been mulling over. And then they also say this, the higher self, when we talk about discernment, you know, the ego versus the higher self with getting information, they always say the higher self is the immediate answer. And so in these sessions, I always tell my clients, or I always do now, because this is something I just started doing. We go with the 5-second rule. I don't know. Did I just freeze up?
Yeah, you did freeze a little bit. I can still hear you though.
Okay, so I don't know what. Oh,
there. Now you're back. Okay.
Okay. So we always go with the 5-second rule. So if it doesn't come, when we're asking a question during these sessions and the information doesn't pop into the client's head within 5 seconds, then we move on. But I need that client to tell me, you know, I'm not hearing anything or I'm not seeing anything, so that we can keep moving on. So it's really important, that immediacy. Now that does not mean that the client's able to articulate what they're getting within 5 seconds, because the information comes in so many different ways: visuals, knowings, emotions, an actual flow of, words. And so that client might take them a while. It might take them a while to articulate these messages from a higher self, but it's whether or not it came in within 5 seconds. So that is also something to pay attention to on your own when you're in meditation or when you're in the flow. Did the answer come immediately? And it's always the first answer. Like, if you're mulling it over, it's the ego. If you're adding fear to it, it's the ego. So, or anxiety, it's the ego. So pretty cool stuff to try to like help each person kind of navigate their life at that point.
That sort of gets into that whole left-right brain issue. And what I felt like I got messages in the Mande1a Effect at first. That was like the thinker statue had moved his left brain. He started looking out of his eyes. And what's your experience with the Mande1a Effect? I mean, I know you've seen it because I've heard you talk to Dan. And it's just, what was it like? I mean, how did you come across it and all that good stuff?
Well, I just remember, and this was probably earlier in my awakening process, and so this was a long time ago, but I remember that whole Nelson Mandela thing. I was like, what? It's alive? What? I thought he died in prison. I didn't ever know he was released, because that's something I learned. That is something I learned in school, in high school. I remember that. And so to find out he was president was like a kick in the pants. I was like, what? And so that really made me second guess it. But nobody was talking about the Mande1a Effect at that point. When I first, when that discrepancy showed up, no one was talking about it yet. And so it's really cool to hear that others have had these experiences, and definitely the Berenstain Bears one. I was like, what in the world? That used to be called something I just remember thinking like, no, this was different when I was younger.
Right. Like a lot of people remember it as Bernstein or Bernstein or Berenstein or Berenstain.
Yeah.
So, but Stain wasn't part of it, no matter who you talk to.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And I have some books that are from like the 80s that my daughter has. We inherited it from my husband's family. And I'm like, I went and checked on them, and I'm like, what? Even these are different. So yeah, there's no winning on that one. It's just enough to keep you aware that there's a glitch in the matrix, and I guess that's what it was designed for, to kind of mess you up and keep you guessing and keep you kind of like tapped in a little bit to this stuff going on, not just asleep, It
woke me up. I was like, because I got to where I was completely left brain and I didn't believe in anything, supernatural really. And then I was like, holy crap, things aren't what I thought they were. So it was a wake-up call for me.
Yeah, it's super important for people. It's like, okay, how are we going to get everybody to wake up? It's different for everybody. So they're like, let's screw up their whole history population, because they ain't gonna wake up without it. Let's take away all of their stuff, all of their memories. Let's screw them up. So yeah, that worked. Good job, everybody. So can I do a really quick shout out?
Sure, yeah, please do.
To your chat room, which I love, and I know you're probably looking at their chat right now, but I can't see it. But y'all are great, man. What a community. I love your tribe that you've built over here. In fact, anybody who comes, who I know, who's feeling like isolated, I'm like, you need to go over to Unbiased and On the Fence and like hop in their chat rooms and talk to this community, because you guys are such a high vibration. There's no funky stuff going on. Because there can be a dogmatic approach to spirituality, just like there can be to religion, and you don't really have that going on here. It's very, very much people who match you, and I love it. I love being a part of that community as well.
Definitely. So I think we're all part of the same tribe for sure. Thank you for that too. But yeah, when I came across the first video, Joseph Reyna sent me to it. It was last year, and I was like, oh, she's so cool. She, and I just found out about Dolores Cannon not too long ago before that. So it was totally awesome. I totally felt that connection right away. And you're at like 4,000 subs at that point or something. And I looked and you're at like 16,000. I'm like, holy cow, you really shut up.
Oh, Lord. 15,000 people I'm letting down all the time because I'm like, I can't answer emails at this point. So sorry, everybody, or comments. But yeah, I feel the weight of that. Like,
I'm sure people are just happy to get a video from you every now and then. So
yeah.
Don't feel too bad. We know you're busy.
Hopefully people understand. Yeah. So it's more, it's you know, my nose to the grindstone all the time, trying to just pay attention to this information and get it out, get it gathered, do these sessions, gather the information and get it out. But that's not a quick job at all, and it's really something that requires way more of my attention than accounting ever did. Shoot, man.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's really, you have to be so focused in this stuff. Anyway.
Someone's in the chat was asking about my friend Diana from the UK was asking about the boy that went missing near where you live or something. Do you know about that?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I mentioned that in an interview, and I think it's one of the only times I've mentioned it. And that was literally one of the coolest, eeriest sessions that I've ever had, or bits of information that came through a session. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so there's a boy that went missing here 7 years ago in Portland, and he was about 6 years old at the time, and his name was Kyron Horman, and he was just freaking adorable because he had these little glasses on in every picture, in every billboard, because they just plastered the whole city with his picture. And what happened was that he went to school in the morning, went to, I believe it was a science fair, and then just disappeared. Absolutely disappeared. And his stepmother had taken him to school, and then no one saw him again. And so it was a big thing about Kyron Horman. What happened to him? Where'd he go? So 5 years later, I have a session with a client, and she's got all of this personal, you know, her whole list is about, you know, her life and all of the stuff. And then one curiosity was at the very end of her questions was, what happened to Kyron Horman? And I, you know, before we head into the session, I always go over the list of questions with each client and everything, and to make sure I understand them and see if we need to add to them or whatever. And I was like, wow, do you have any connection to him or anything? And she was like, no, I just have 100% curiosity, and which a lot of us do here in Portland. And so when we go through the session, it's all like, so when the higher self comes in, it's not always serious, you know. The higher self is like, hey, what's up, you know, like I can jive with the higher self pretty easily. And this is not the this is not the ego though. This is the higher self. So talking to the higher self, and the higher self is like giving some funny answers about why this person is struggling with this, or why she like is going through this problem or whatever. And it's funny stuff, like we're laughing and stuff. We're like joking, and it's lighthearted. And then I get to the question about Kyron Horman, and the energy just goes oof in the whole room. I remember it like yesterday. Like it was so different. It wasn't negative. It was just heavy. Very heavy. It got very heavy really quick, and I got chills all over my body, back of my neck, everything. But I'm sticking with it. Okay, what happened to Kyron Horman? And they said, oh, he died. He's dead. And I said, okay, well, what happened to him? And it said that his stepmother killed him, and she strangled him and buried him in this huge park. It's called Forest Park, and it's actually right behind my home, and has miles and miles and miles of trails. It's the biggest inner city park in all of the US, so it's huge. And she buried him up there, and I was like, okay, why did she do that? You know, trying to remain steady and get as much information. Why did she do that? Okay, she was jealous. She was jealous of his relationship with his father and the attention he gets. And she had a new baby. And yeah, off. She killed him. Okay, so, and then I was like, well, you know, where is he buried up there? He's buried right in this one area, so these 2 roads, basically, it's a huge area, so it was still vague, even with that information. And I was like, should the client tell anybody about this? Because I was like, that's her session, man, not mine. And they were like, yeah, she can put in an anonymous tip if she'd like. And then it kept saying, she needs to be watched. She needs to be watched. She's going to visit the grave. She needs to be watched. And like it kept interjecting like that. She needs to be watched. She needs to be watched. And I was like, is she being watched right now? And it said, because this is like 5 years after his disappearance, so the likelihood is no. But it said, you know, they keep tabs on her, but she's not being watched constantly. And then so like I said, Kyron Horman had these little glasses on. And I was like, where are the glasses? And the higher self said, they're on him right now. And I was like, well, how is he still wearing his glasses if she strangled him? You know, that's a pretty violent act. And it said, they came off, they're all twisted, but she picked him up and put him back on with the body. And I was like, why would she do that? And it said, because it's evidence, and she was trying to hide the evidence, so she just put him with the body. And I was like, okay, all right. Oh. And then it said, I was like, well, is she, you know, are people in danger of her right now? You know, is she going to do this again? And said, yeah, she'll probably do something like this again. No one's really safe around her. So all very like interesting, eerie stuff. And then a couple days after this session, a big storm blows through, a Columbus Day storm. So this is like November 2015, maybe, when this happened. And shoot, I'm losing track of my years. It could have been 16. Yeah, one of those.
I understand.
Go back, no ability to go back to the date. Anyway, it was November 2015 or 2016. What was I wearing? No. And the day store, and in this particular park, they were worried about trees falling down and stuff. And so I was like, that's why they kept saying she's going to go back. She's going to go back and see if he's still covered, if the grave is still covered. And they mentioned that in the session. She's going to go back to check the grave site, or, you know, where he's buried, to make sure he's still covered. Okay, so fast forward a year. So I think this was 2016. You know, I would check in every couple months and be like, did you make the tip yet? Did you say anything? And she was like, no, I haven't, or I don't know. I lost track of whether or not she did it. But within a year, they reopened the case to his death, and specifically with her as the main suspect. And she had like threatened to kill a boyfriend at that point, and all this crazy stuff. Like, this woman is leaving like a trail everywhere she goes of, like, you know, just violence and stuff. So weird stuff. That was my session about that missing person, and it's fascinating stuff. In fact, I wish more people would come into their sessions and ask about stuff like that, you know. And I had another client who asked about a sister who's people kept saying she committed suicide, and she was like, there's no way, like, the evidence just doesn't stack up. And we received answers about that as well. No, there were people involved, and we heard who it was, and then I think she later gave that information to the police. So
wow.
Really tough coming through.
Awesome evidence that this works, though, too. I mean, for any skeptics out there, I mean, you've been convinced anyway of it, and everybody says through crying in the chat they want us to talk about something happy. It is a sad story, but at least you know, justice was served. And
yeah. Yeah, no, there's plenty of happy stuff, but yeah, that was just like a heavy, like, thing. And like I said, man, to feel that energy change in the room was like, holy crap, because yeah, there I was a witness to it. Yeah, we get lots of cool stuff too. A lot of people, you know, when are they going to meet their soulmates? When are they going to do this? When are they going to do that? You know, how to get the life that they want. And that's always where we come from. How can we get you from point A to point X over there? And the higher self is like, do B, C, D, a little bit of F, and some G, and then you'll get out of it. Fascinating.
Well, what you probably heard all sorts of previous lives and stuff. Which one really stands out as being the most interesting and that you're allowed to share anyway?
Oh, man. I don't know. That's a tough one because lately, if I get the chance, and because I've been practicing these one kind of sessions remotely, I'm not advertising for them yet. It's only with people who have had a background in hypnosis, but it's called Beyond Quantum Healing, because quantum healing hypnosis is trademarked, and that material's trademarked. So just a little aside, they won't allow me to do those sessions remotely, so I do this other type of session. And in that, I asked for the higher self to take us not to the past, well, to the past if they want to, but I'm like, can you also go to the future? Like, can we open that up as an option? Go to the future or go to another dimension? And a lot of times people go to their future lives. In fact, just this week, I had a client who went to her future, and she never passed away from this current version of herself on Earth. She ascended and finally got to go home to her home planet. And I was like, what do you look like, you know? And she was like, I have one foot, and on the bottom of my foot is like this hand. I have 3 arms, and she was like, I thought I had 3 eyes, and she's like, that's really strange. But the cool like technology they had available there, and then the way they were living, it was fascinating stuff. And she was able to, because this was a future version of herself, the same version of herself. I was like, well, what happened to Earth? And I was like, can we get some information about her life? So this was even before we get to the higher self. I'm like, I'm getting all this information we can about her life and what she went through, because it's already experienced it. And so it was really, really interesting. It's really cool to tap into future versions of yourself and get information about your past. But then from the higher self perspective, you get all of these other details. So I love that stuff. Going to the future, baby.
That's really cool. And that sort of gets into, that's amazing how the higher self and the higher consciousness can know so much, but be limited as far as time, because they're able to sort of see everything in the now. And yeah, that's what is such a problem with predicting time, where they're like, it's soon, you know, the event is soon, but they can't say, hey, it's on, you know, March 20th or 21st or whatever the day is, or, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, but I think they also do that on purpose, because it's just like, okay, the greatest surprise you can ever have is something like this, or the birth of like a child, you know, and not knowing when that's going to happen, not knowing what it's going to look like exactly, you know, and so it's like they're keeping, I think part of me thinks that they're keeping this information from us because we signed up for it and we want to experience it in the moment. And so even when they show glimpses of each person experiencing the event, they hold back some. I could tell they're always holding back some. And then the dates, I think they just don't want to tell us because they want us to be so surprised. They don't want us to try to control it from this human-centric, you know, version of ourselves, this 3D version of ourselves. I want to be at home wearing these pants. I want to make sure the whole thing is around me. I want to be comfortable, cozy. No, they're like, we don't want to give you that information because you'll try to like mold your whole life around it. And
even
so
if you tried not to, you would, I think. You'd be like, well, there's no sense in paying taxes. Like you said, make sure you pay your taxes, people. And that other video I was laughing.
Yeah. I'm like, I need to pay taxes. Well, actually, because I get refunds, so.
Right.
I'm like, there's a reason, because my husband's like, can you take care of the taxes so I can get some money and I can go buy all the stuff I've been wanting to buy all year? Shit, man. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. You
Right
got to
out.
answer to your higher self on that one.
Yeah. Oh, God. Time for the piper to pay me. No.
Right.
So
Well,
yeah, I think they're doing that whole tricky. I think A, it's hard for them to narrow it down, but B, even when they can, and they probably can, they don't want to tell us because they want this grand surprise. And so just like with the whole birth process, you know, I've gone through that with my friends. I've gone through that with family. I've gone through my own, and you have 5 kids, right? So you guys have experienced that as well, where it's like you know enough to get super excited and super like, oh, I'm going to try to get ready as much as possible, prepared as much as possible. But truly, you have no idea how it's going to go down.
right.
You have no idea, nor do you almost want to know, because it can, you know, affect you right now. It will distract you from right now. And so, but your mind is always going to try to fill in the blanks there. So I think they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, it's the same way with the way a lot of people don't even want to know the gender. They're like, I want to be completely surprised as possible when it happens.
Right. Because how many times in your life do you have that option to be so just blown over and surprised? Yes. And so the grand unveiling, I think they're doing that on purpose. But the information is certainly coming through, enough of it to get us prepared. You know, it's not, the higher self is giving so many people information through their dreams, through these sessions, and then ETs are giving people information through channelings, or ascended masters are giving people information through channelings, and through, you know, ETs they actually meet with some people, and so they're giving information that way. And so we're getting the information. The information is coming to Earth, but just enough to get us super excited, and then a little bit crazy, but not enough to give us all the details.
Right.
So, and that's something we have to maybe get used to, just not having all the details, you know?
If we knew it was soon, and we knew for sure it was soon, I think a lot of people would be okay with, you know, sort of like when you know that it's the due date's at this time, it's going to be around that time, you know, but we'd be okay with it, because a lot of people are just like worn out, and like you mentioned, wanting to go home to their home planet. They realize that, hey, I'm not from this planet. I already know. I don't know where the heck I'm from, but I know this ain't it, you know. And so
yeah, and I think a lot of us are agreeing, or the information that's coming through all of these different sources, they are all saying soon. And you know, I get time frames, and they're all soon. Like, it's either the first quarter of 2018, or it's the next month, or it's the next month. But it's, at some point, it's splitting hairs, whether it happens on one half of the week that's in the first quarter of 2018, or the other half of the week that isn't. Who the heck cares? At some point, you know, it's going to happen so soon. So what do we do in the meantime? And so I got some information about this last week. You know, I was like, what? You know, people are getting a little bit crazy about this stuff, and like trying to attach a date to this, and then getting let down every time they do that. And so what, you know, I was asking the higher self, I was like, what do you want to say to people who are, what should they be doing right now? And it's like, relax, calm
chill
down,
out.
you know, do whatever you need to do to raise your vibration, chill the heck out, you know. There's a lot of like act as if you're already this higher in this higher state. Release any preconceived ideas. That's easier said than done. But it's like, you know, the more relaxed you are with not knowing when this will happen, and get into that state of just ease and flow, they said the more you'll be a match for the energy when it hits you. So that is impetus enough for me. I'm like, okay, I want to get into this ease and flow, and not really caring too much, you know, and that, because I don't want to have anything in me that resists that energy, or that doesn't allow for it to completely flow in properly. So that's just me.
Totally agree.
I want to be a match for that energy.
Definitely. I've been feeling that way too, is that, you know, don't get caught up on the date because you'll get let down, and just know that everything's going to happen in its proper time and that everything's handled. And all you need to do is just be content with knowing that it's handled, and you don't have to handle the timing of it. Just handle yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
It's out of your hands, truly out of your hands. There are certain things, I did hear in one session that, you know, the person was asking about the law of attraction and how it works with this energy. And it said, you know, it's not an individual who can speed this energy up. The energy is coming no matter what. No matter what we do, this energy is coming. But group meditations will actually speed up the pace of this energy hitting the earth. And I thought that was pretty cool. You know, whatever we can do to speed it along. But I'm not, personally, I'm like, it'll come. That's just my own position. All right, whatever. I'm just gonna go about my life and chill. But you can see the signs that certain patterns in people's lives are so unsustainable right now, and so this energy, it really, we can't go on like this very much longer. And so time is of the essence, but it is divinely timed, and so it will come when it's needed. But we are reaching that point where it's like, we can't go on like this very much longer at all. People are freaking out, and you have unsustainable patterns within your own life that need to be kind of broken down and stopped, you know? And so, yeah, there's that desire for, come on.
Somebody said I look like Keanu Reeves. Really? I never heard that one before. Maybe when I don't shave these days.
Huh?
I said maybe when I don't shave these days, I might look more like him, but he's pretty hairy these days, Keanu Reeves.
Absolutely.
So I'll let you drink your water, and I will ask a question about just the event in general. Have you gotten anything new since your last video about the, you know, anything? I mean, right. I watched everything, so it's like, I don't want to have you repeat a bunch of stuff, but
I probably had like 15 or 20 sessions since then. And almost every single one is given information about the event. Most of them are just repeating information that is like, not repeating it as if the person knows it and therefore they're repeating it, but the information is succinct. It's so spot on with the rest of it. And so it jives all together. It's just more validation that what we already know is going to happen. Some cool stuff about, you know, the vibration, like that. Okay, so I heard this week something cool was once this event happens, that the energy available to each person will be different based on their vibrational level. But some people will be, you know, controlling their DNA. Like it'll be more in touch with themselves and controlling themselves and using that to manifest what they want physically, and then manifesting on the outside of them. And I thought that was really cool to hear, this control of your DNA, you know, having, and then of course telepathy and all that stuff, a more dialing in of you know what's in each person's heart, and them being able to sense your intent. So some of us have pure intent, but others, no matter what, they can't see that because they're so shielded with their own crap that they can't see. They can't read pure intent, or they can't read, you know, the actual intent of each person, and that will be available to them. It's a clearing of a shedding of all of this stuff, like the guilt, the shame, the negativity, and people will want to have that back. Some people will want to have that ability to lie. They'll want that back, but it won't be available. And so it's going to be a rewiring of the brain. I did this thing years ago of Vipassana meditation. And the homework after this meditation, so it was like a 10-day, 11-day retreat, a silent retreat. You don't have any electronics, you don't even have a book. You don't talk to anybody at the retreat. And some of the homework after you're done with that is 1 year of no lying. 1 year of no stealing, 1 year of all this stuff. But the lying one was the biggest one, because when you don't have the ability to tell all these little white lies to kind of let people perceive you the right way, or to kind of smooth your transition through life, then your brain has to completely rewire itself to actually say the truth, but get the results that you want to get. So for example, I had like, my daughter was maybe like 2 when I went away to this retreat. And when I came back, she would be like, Mom, do you have any gum? And I'd be like, oh, crap, I gotta tell her the truth. I have some gum, man. So I'd be like, yeah, I have gum, but you can't have it because of this reason or this reason or this reason. So my brain had to come up with the proper way to associate why I couldn't give her this gum. Or I just had to like be like, yeah, I got some, you can have it. You know, you caught me. And my husband, on the other hand, he didn't do this retreat. He didn't have to do this homework. I chose to do this homework, but he didn't do any of this. So he's over here and he's like, we can see that he has gum in his pocket. Okay. You can see the pack of gum. And she's like, do you have any gum? And he's like, no. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, not only does she see the pack of gum, but you're just straight up lying to her. You know, and that's so frustrating when you can tell people are lying to you. And I realized, like, I had been living my life with this ability to tell all these little white lies throughout my life, and then how frustrating that must have been for the people around me who could probably tell in some way that I was lying. And so we have that is going away, that ability to lie your way through things. And I think that's really cool, and that's gonna really
I think it's already started in a way. People's BS detectors are just on these days. It's like,
yes, I agree. You know, this ability to tell if people are lying is there, but the ability to still lie is there. Okay, right. So what we have to, that's what's going away. So yeah, we are tuning in to getting all these readings from people, and they don't match what's coming out of the person's mouth. Yeah.
that's right along the lines of the telepathy. It's like we're starting to pick up a little bit of that, and we probably just don't even realize it. So it's, as soon as that comes on, it's like you could be saying no, but they're hearing yes anyway, you know, if you're lying.
Right, exactly. And people get, yeah, you know, empaths have been getting that for years, intuitives for years. They get a reading from people, and that's why they don't want to be around people. That's why they isolate, because they're like, no, it's just a cluster F.
You're having to rewire your whole vocabulary these days. Huh?
Talking about always setting new neural pathways in my own brain. Thanks a lot, higher self.
I started that when I started the channel. I was like, I don't want anybody to be turned off on my language. I want people to be able to watch with their kids. So I've tried not to, and I've had to, you know, like I've come up with words I would have never said before, like baloney. And actually I got that from the, because one of the changes, the Oscar Mayer change of the name to Mayer now. And I did you know about that? It's M-A-Y-E-R instead of M-E-Y-E-R for Oscar Mayer Wieners or whatever.
Yeah, I'm vegetarian. I stopped paying attention to that.
Oh, well, I grew up with them singing the song and spelling it out, and so yeah.
M-A-Y, but I remember it's M-A-Y-E-R because I.
Oh, do you remember like John Mayer, like the name? And I've seen it with just M-Y-E-R, like with an apostrophe, like weird.
What? No.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
That is jack. Anyway, yeah. So always cool information coming through these sessions. I really like all the dreams that people are sending me lately. Dreams are my jam, and I used to offer free dream interpretation, and I don't anymore just because I can't. But I love dreams, and that is so when your higher self, like I said, they're connected to you all the time. And your hamster wheel is going, and so they can't always give you those messages during the day. So at night, they're finally like, here's a whole bunch of dreams about giving you relief, giving you guidance, giving you, precognition, giving you all this stuff. And so to me, those are messages from the higher self, and they are worth paying attention to. And if each person, they'll have themes going on in their dreams, and if you get enough of them, you can start seeing that individual's themes going on and the symbols that show up. And so it is fascinating. And then you know, you have all of these dreams about the event, and people are sending them because what's being revealed in these sessions about the event is what they dreamed about. And so that's really cool to get all of that data going.
That's like a confirmation to what they've already been getting.
Absolutely. I think validation is so important in the, you know, in this process of this spiritual awakening. For so many people, validation is a huge part of that. If they're isolated and alone and they don't know that other people are dealing with this, it kind of stunts their growth in a way. So validation is really important to kind of launch you to the next level, saying, okay, other people are getting this. What can we learn from it? And I'm not crazy. And I don't have to keep like replaying what I've gotten. I can move on to the next level. It's really cool. So validation is important, and that's why like a community like yours that you've created is so important. So important, because people can just log in and be like, that's going on, or the comment sections, like you know, in like these videos, it's like I have the comment section open, and that can be like a blessing and a curse sometimes, because you get people crazy. You get opinionated.
Well, I got Josee in there, and she's got a wrench ready to boink anybody out that's hating. So
right.
It's a safe place. Thank you, Josee, and DeadGPK and all the mods.
And so when you have these comments, so you're creating like this ability for others to see what other people are saying and what they're experiencing and stuff. And so it's a valuable tool. It really is. Like I said, except for, thank God, I need a Josee, man.
You do. She's available. She loves doing this. She loves connecting. She always brings the love to the chat. I love having her. She's a real blessing. And somebody said we hit 508. Wow, you're setting records here, Allison. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. You didn't want to know how many people were watching.
Yeah, I told you.
Only half a thousand. But yeah, a few times that I found it interesting is I'll read a comment and it'll be like, oh my gosh, that's happening to me, and I forgot about it. Like, people mention things that's happened in meditation, and then I remember because they said that, and I'm like, oh yeah, or it happened in a dream or something.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, it's hugely important to be able to have those conversations, whether they're in person or online. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anyway. Just getting out and you know, experiencing and putting yourself out there and experiencing what other people are going through, and it's really is important right now. Really is, because I can't tell you how many of my clients are like, I have never said this to anybody. I've never, because like I said, we sit for a couple hours beforehand and listen to their story, and they've never told it before. They've never said their experiences because they thought they would be judged or the people around them wouldn't handle it. And that's true. They would be judged and the people around them couldn't handle it. But there are people out there who won't judge them. And so it's so isolating to be on this journey if you don't reach out to people, like people in your chat room.
Doesn't it seem like it's on purpose, though, in a way? It's like the way we're all spread out seems like we're purposely spread out. It's like, why don't we all have someone else in our life, you know, well, most of us anyway, that kind of gets us, or they're on the similar road. It's like we're all, I don't know, we're just surrounded by it. That's why the whole idea of NPCs, or, you know, empty seaters, or whatever they call it, you know, it's like these people that are just sort of background people in the Matrix.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what that acronym is.
Oh,
but yeah, I think it's designed that way for the grid of the Earth. In fact, I hear that all the time in these sessions. You know, the reason we're all spread out is because if we were all concentrated, then the whole Earth wouldn't have this energetic grid around it. And so we do need to be spread out. But thank God for the internet that connects us.
The internet, that's funny.
Internet,
the grid, the internet, it's like the same.
Like the micro and the macro, you know, yeah.
As above, so below, or whatever.
Yes, So we have this grid set up that we are uniquely placed for our purpose, you know, and it is our desire to be around each other, but we don't have to be physically close to each other to do that. I don't even know where you're at, Shane. Like,
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Are you in Oklahoma? I had no idea.
Originally from St. Louis, and I've lived in Atlanta, or out the outskirts of Atlanta. So
Oh, wow.
I've even lived in Colorado for a summer.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right. That's where you're at. Like, the only person, I only know a few people. I think Scott is from here.
Yeah.
In Portland. Of course, I know a lot of other people because of the work I do, and because it has to be done face to face. So I get this huge kind of network growing here, but as far as from your crew, I think Scott's the only one who's from out here. Yeah,
and most people are from Canada, like Josee and my friend Jamie, and yeah, there's a lot of people from Canada. Or
that's cool.
Biker Babe's up by the Great Lakes, so she's up there, sort of. I've even wondered, I'm like, are they beaming something where more people are asleep here in America? Or I've wondered. But somebody asked the question about technology or transportation and traveling to other planets. Have you gotten anything like that with this event coming, or is that like the 5D event, or do you get anything like that?
Well, I don't necessarily get an answer about technology being the avenue that you travel to these other planets. They say that I get more that it's the ability to use the vibrations to get to hop from dimension to dimension without you know, a use of a ship or anything like that. So I think that's fascinating. I do get information that after this event, we will have, you know, the technology available to, like, the disclosure of what's been hidden from us, this, you know, all of this technology that we already have access to, but then it will grow by leaps and bounds. So that is exciting to, like, be here and see what's revealed and what's created from that big reveal. Ooh, I can't wait for that.
Somebody, Jose's correcting me. Yes, I realize Canada's in North America. I just meant, like, you know, you guys are like the attic to the 50 states, to the United States. It's like, oh, I forgot I had all this up here in the attic. And
oh, Lord. Not everybody thinks like that. Not everybody.
Yeah, my views are not Allison Coe's views on that. So.
Thank you.
I'm just teasing, though. I heard a comedian say that once, so I'm just really repeating their joke. So definitely the event with traveling with our brain and things like that, that's pretty cool. Anything about like government changes and you know, I got to be careful about the wording or whatever, but we have people in high places that probably shouldn't be there, and we probably need a restructuring. Do you get any information on that?
Yeah.
She's like, yep, I get it. Okay. Is that going to happen with the newer event or the later event, or do you get any information on how that's going to work out?
Yeah.
Let's say, let me guess, it's soon, right?
Yeah, no, we get information that there will be a lot of those people who won't be able to come back down to Earth, or if they do, they won't be able to last long because they won't be a match for this energy. They're just playing around here, and their role is not one of ascension. It's one of for their particular soul growth, they will go to another place. And that is a kind of a large population of most of the people in power right now, and most of the famous people, actually, or that's some information that's been revealed in these sessions. So how that trickles down will be interesting. How government changes will be interesting. There haven't been too many people who ask very specific questions on that. More general, you know, will it be changing? And the answer is always like, yeah, heck yeah, because it's based on a paradigm of competition, of hierarchy, of control, and that can't exist where this energy exists that's coming to the Earth. So it just won't be a match, and so many systems won't be a match, and those systems will crumble, and then new systems will be brought into place if a system is required. And so just like Western medicine, I mean, in general, it's like that whole pay system, like we won't heal you, we won't give you help in any way, shape, or form unless, you know, we get reimbursed for it. And actually, we won't actually heal you. We're going to keep you in this game of sickness for as long as possible, so that
medicine instead of getting better.
Yeah, and so all of these systems that are based on profit, on hierarchy, on control are going down. In fact, it was interesting. I got something about how religions will change. You know, because I thought that would be an interesting topic. You're in
a safe place for that, because religion is definitely, I think most people see that, at least at the core of it, a lot of them. Like, most people don't have a problem with Jesus. They just have a problem with sort of how the church has, you know, taken his message and turned it into more of a control mechanism. So Jesus is cool. And if you look at his wording and his message, that's all great, you know. But, you know, you look at how it's been, you know, they've made it fear-based. Like, you're going to burn in hell if you don't come to this church and give us 10% of your money and yada, yada, yada. You can really see how man has stepped in and added their own stuff, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and in order to control the masses and rewrite these books, these beautiful books, in a different way, so that they can have more control on the individual and on their experience. And it's really really interesting. Yeah, but at the core of every religion is love, is oneness, is the truth that you can do what I can do. Because each of these was, you know, most of them was started from an individual coming down to earth who was of such a high vibration that they changed everyone around them. And their whole message was, no, I'm here because I want to teach you that you can do what I can do, and we're all one and we're all love. And then everybody gets a hold of this teaching, and then they manipulate it and change it and bastardize it to the benefit of, you know, the elite. Okay, so the interesting stuff about religion was that each individual is going to start learning about themselves, and that will be their religion. Is uncovering who they truly are will be their religion. It's a religion of the internal rather than the external, and how they relate to the cosmos, to the grand scheme around them and the energy around them. So I thought that was really beautiful. It will be just a completely different take on what is divine.
That's amazing. And I think you think about, you know, some people say, when I always think we're like little fractals of the divine essence of God or whatever it is. We're like little pieces of it. And, you know, I've had people say, well, that's blasphemous. And I'm like, it's blasphemous to say that we're alive without being a piece of God, isn't it?
Right, exactly. So what am I then if I'm not a shard of God, a little piece of God? What am I then? You know, isn't that blasphemy to think that I'm
to say I can be alive without his help or whatever, its help or whatever.
Yeah, her. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, her.
Oh,
sorry, ladies. Yeah, him and her. But I always think of it as androgynous, but I hate saying it because it's like, you know, it's like calling a baby it. I think it needs a diaper change or a bottle.
Yeah, what is the proper pronoun to use?
I don't know. We need a word for that, you know.
we need a hypnosis session to give us that answer. Source.
That's a good point.
What have you noticed in your particular way? Because we all get, I gotta stretch my legs. I'm sitting on the floor here. What do you notice in your particular way that's changed as this energy kind of is starting to hit the earth? Because it's certainly starting to hit, and everybody is sensing it a different way because certain things are more innate and stronger in them, certain abilities. So I'm curious what's changed in with you and what you're picking up on.
Well, I definitely feel like I've been getting help like, it's always unseen, of course, and I always want more or some kind of contact, and I'm always like, why do they get contact with ETs and I don't? And, you know, we always want what we're not getting, but I definitely feel like something's going on, and I've gotten information unexplainably, you know, like I can't explain where I get it, and I have just knowings, and I don't know really how I know them, but I just know, hey, don't worry about this. This is taken care of. And, you know, I've had this vision of having actually a male and a female on each side of me, and I was about at the waist. They were like light beings or something. I never turned and looked at them. I just knew they were there, and they had their hands like under my armpit on each side of me, not like making me go anywhere, but just in case I stumbled, they would be there to hold me and keep me from falling. And I got this vivid image of this, and I was like on this highway of life, and you know, it's like I don't need to really understand it all. It's just, you know, keep on trucking, and we're here in case you fall. And that was sort of the message. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been trucking right along, you know what I mean? And I know that I won't be allowed to stumble and fall, you know, as long as I really have that intention to do the most loving good for everyone, you know, so.
Yes, absolutely. Once you have that as your guiding light, you won't stumble, you won't fall. That's beautiful.
And I've been fulfilled in a way, like, you know, I've never been so broke yet so fulfilled in life. That's why I'm like, money doesn't bring you fulfillment and happiness at all, because I'm so broke yet I'm the most fulfilled person that I know of right now, anyway, in my life.
Well, the good thing is, like, every time we ask about money in these sessions, they're like, it doesn't matter. It's not going to matter for very long at all. You know, the whole financial system is going to be revamped, changed, and for certain people, they won't even have to be tapped into that. They're going to be taken care of. And so, yeah, hopefully, you know, like you said, you don't always need money. So hopefully you have exactly what you need to do what you need to do, like the amount of money that you need to do what you need to do, and have a level of comfort and not be trapped in this area of like survival, you know, survival mode. I've definitely been in that before. I remember not even being able to afford shampoo one time. I was a cook for a number of years before I was an accountant, and that's not a high-paying job, and I had to pay the rent, and I was like, thank God I get to eat in the kitchen, because I would, you know, maybe be able to afford a meal every 5 days or something. And I was literally out of shampoo and could not buy a bottle of shampoo, like even a cheap 99-cent bottle. Like, that's how broke I was. I remember that. And when I was that broke, I was like, I am never going to get back here again, because it keeps you in this weird, anxious, you know, just a terrible mindset where you have to figure out how to survive, you know. And that's shampoo. I mean, it's like there's so much more important things, right. But being at that level and being like, I never want to be here again, and why are we even freaking paying to live here? Like, that's so freaking ridiculous. So people ask me about, like, you know, money and work in the new earth, and it's like, no, that is not a construct that exists in the new earth. It just isn't. That is one that exists here. It's not one that's going to transfer over there. We don't need that at all. You know, I'm so excited to get out of that whole thing, man.
Yeah, and I was like, right at first, I was worried a little. Well, I just knew things would be taken care of. It was really my wife probably that worried more than anything. Just because I was like, you know what, things will be taken care of. Don't worry about it. I know I'm on this right path, and we have help, and, you know, just trust that, you know, even one day things look kind of dire for us. And I was like, just ask for help. That's all you gotta do. And she asked for help. And this guy, like, gave her like a $60 tip, and like made up for the amount we needed. And I said, see, and so we've had little things happen that, you know, or somebody send me $20 and it's just what we need to get through. So things are working out, you know, and I don't have an abundance of money, but, you know, anytime I start to think we're not going to have it, something will happen, even if it's $5 or $10 or something, you know, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. So if you don't worry about it, and I want to tell people, hey, if you want to quit your job and do what you want to do, that's cool. But at the same time, like, I don't want to have people quitting their job and then, like, you know, homeless because, you know, I just knew I was doing what I was supposed to do. And I would encourage anybody that feels like you're supposed to be doing something to do it, and then just trust it to be taken care of. But I don't want to send everybody out, tell them to start quitting their jobs if that's not what they're supposed to do. But
because you don't want, so you're in a state where you can handle that kind of insecurity a little bit. Others, they're not a match for that, and therefore they would drop down into a level you don't want to. It would lower their vibration to quit their job, to not have that regular paycheck. And so but that's, I think you hit on something that's truly important, and that is the necessity of remembering to ask for help. So many of us just go through our everyday life, and we're you know, aligned with the problem, but we forget, oh yeah, we can like actually ask for help, and without knowing who's helping us, without like intellectualizing who I'm actually asking. Well, I need to, you know the name of my spirit guide or whatever. No, that doesn't freaking matter at all. Just ask. Just ask. And I'm guilty of that. I'm so guilty of like going through my everyday life and being like, oh, wouldn't this be cool if it changed? But then I forget like the other part of that, which is like, oh yeah, I could be like, hey, can I get some help, man?
And it's so funny, most of us realize that because we'll get so down on our luck that we're just like, please help, and then we get it, and then we feel like you have to get to that point every time, but you don't. You don't have to ever get so low that you just cry out for help out of desperation. You can ask before it ever gets that bad, and that's what I found. I mean, don't
have to get to the dark night of the soul every time.
Exactly. That's like, totally true.
You gotta learn that stuff eventually, that you don't have to get all the way down to rock bottom to ask for help. Absolutely. And help comes in so many different ways. Like, that's the thing. It's like recognizing that the way that help comes to you may not be the way that you're thinking it will come to you. Definitely. Just like a client told me this joke last week. He was so freaking funny, this client. And he was saying that, about this joke about, okay, so this guy is like gonna paddle out into the ocean, and stop me if you've heard this one, but it's cute. This guy's gonna paddle out into this little rowboat into the ocean, and he's like, he's got this agreement that God is gonna give him a sign, and it's going to help him, and he's gonna get the biggest sign possible from God. And then he's like, this storm is kind of coming, and he's paddling, and this like tugboat comes up, and they're like, dude, you need a ride? You know, like, come on, let's get to safety. And he's like, no, I'm waiting for a message from God. Like, leave me alone. And then a fishing boat comes up, and they're like, hey, man, because the storm is getting bigger and bigger. This is crazy. Come on, like, come with us. We'll tow you in or whatever. No, you don't understand. I'm waiting for a message from God. Like, I got this. This is between me and God, you know. I'm waiting for a sign. Then a much bigger, huge ship comes in, and they're like, come on, like, let's tow you into shore. Like, no, keep going. And the storm is raging, and he dies. And he gets up to God, and he's like, I thought we had a deal. You were gonna give me a sign. You were gonna give me some help. And God was like, I sent you like 3 or 4 signs, and you were like, you didn't pay attention to him. You ignored him. He's like, oh, I didn't know. So this.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's totally true. It's like you might need a coat, for instance, and instead of saying, I need the money for the coat, just say, I need a coat. You might get the money. You might get the coat. Somebody might just say, hey, I just bought this. It's my wrong size. Here, it's brand new even, you know, and, exactly. And bam, it's taken care of.
Exactly. So, I love this stuff. Anyway, so I think a lot of us just forget to even ask, and you hit on it, you know, with your story. It's so important. So important. So I know people want to hear about the event, but I love all this crap, man.
Yeah, I know. We're all like, when is it going to happen?
Yeah, it's because it's not just, your life can't just be about getting somewhere. The only place life happens is right now, and like what you're doing now, and what you're experiencing, and how you're tapped in, and how you're tapped into the signs around you that are showing up. And it can't just be to get to that point where this energy comes. Yeah, it's super exciting, but what's going on right now in your life? You know, what messages are you getting about even this event? And it's like, you have to pay attention, you have to be tapped in, you have to be aware in order to get these messages. Everybody's getting them, they're just not sure if they're getting them or not, because
they're so worried about the future that they're not paying attention. That's another thing. We're so worried about it that we're not paying attention to the signs. And I get them in music and everything, you know.
Yeah I loved your what was it, your
with Nathan, the synchronicity, mysticism, and the Mande1a Effect.
Yes, I love that. I was doing the dishes, I think, and I was like listening to that over the weekend. And I was like, this is wonderful to like, because you in order to get the signs, you have to be in the moment, you have to be in the now. And so like him doing this, getting these messages from music, it's like you have to pay attention, you know. And what better thing can there be than tapping into right now? And it's like looking constantly on your phone for more information about the event, or like on YouTube, on your computer for more. It's like, no, you're missing right now. You're missing where life is actually happening, and playing around you. Unfolding is what I was going to say, not unplaying.
That brings me back to, I was on the way, taking my wife to work one day, and my plates are expired, and I've got like an unpaid traffic ticket. So I'm like, I don't want to end up in jail because I got to run her to work. And you know, I'm like about halfway there, and going back to that asking for help thing, you know, the song comes on by Bon Jovi. We're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need to ask for help. Please help me make it to get her to work and back home, and you know, not get pulled over and go to jail over a stupid traffic ticket, you know, because I don't have the money for all that. And that song came on, but if I wasn't in the moment saying, you know, hearing that, you know, living on a prayer, I wouldn't have known to say a little prayer, you know, get me there safe and back.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. You had to be aware. Get that message to save your bacon.
Exactly. But yeah, that's amazing the way, if you are alert and in the moment, and not only get the synchronicities on the clock and or a license plate in front of you, or just all of these ways. It could be a bumper sticker or a billboard or a commercial. And it's amazing because it's like, there's a movie with Steve, I can't even think of his last name, the actor back in, I think it was like the late 80s or 90s, but he had that amber sign come on, and one day I was actually speeding down the highway, and that amber sign came on and said, drive safely. And I felt like, you know, it was just the message for everyone, but it felt like just like that movie, like it was just for me, you know, telling me to slow down and stop speeding.
I think you're talking
Steve
about
Martin.
Yeah,
LA Live.
Yeah, God, that was
Yeah, it had Sarah Jessica Parker, I think, in it, and it was an old movie.
It had his wife in it at the time too. Yeah, that was a good movie. Yeah, exactly.
It felt just like that. So do you feel like that too? Do you feel like you see signs all around you?
I do, and I can tell. I'm so attuned with myself. I can tell when I'm paying attention to what's not really here, which is why I made sure I set up my phone so that I'm not logged into YouTube on my phone. I don't even know my password, so I can't be logged in as me. So that forces me to not be able to comment on, like, respond to comments or anything. I can't do any of that stuff from my phone. So that means that I'm not tapped in that way to my phone. So it's just weird. I have to trick myself, set up these things to block myself from being so involved in this world that isn't here right now. It's, you know, it's online. And so it's blocking myself from getting away to what's now. I do that all the time. But yeah, I'm pretty tapped in. And like the other day I woke up March 19th, I think I woke up, and after about 2 hours, I was like, holy crap, something feels different. Because I was like, I knew that some people were like, oh, the event's going to happen on the 18th, you know, and I was like, so I was, for a second, I was like tapping in to see if I felt any different on the 19th. I was like, I know it didn't happen, but you know, does something feel different? And like after 2 hours, like I said, after being awake for a couple hours, I did that, and I was like, I can't think of a negative thought. That's what feels different. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot think of a negative thought, because I had left my house. I had gone to the gym because I didn't have a session that day because of something or another. I didn't have a session, and I had gone to the gym, and you know, when you're leaving your house, you're in your car, you're like, you will think a negative thought as soon as you pull into traffic. Believe me, like even if you don't want to, you'll be like, mother trucker, don't walk right now. Don't walk in front of my, you know, things like that. And that's what was weird. I was like, oh, that's why it feels different. I can't think of it. And so I tried to think of a couple negative thoughts. I couldn't think of anything. I literally couldn't think of anything. And I was like, oh, this is worth noting. Like, this is a trip. And I checked in with a couple people, and I was like, try to think of something negative, you know, see if you can do it. And they were like, I don't know. I don't want to try. I don't want to test it. And I'm like, come on, do it. No, I couldn't try it. I was like, this is amazing. And then the next day I was like, I think it's back a little bit. But
that's so funny.
We're getting these like hits of energy that are changing us. They're actually changing our cellular structures right now. They're changing our neural pathways right now. We are being changed, whether we see evidence of it outside of us or not. But this energy, this event, yes, we will see that. Every single session of mine is like, you're going to see it. Because I'm always like, I don't want to assume we're going to see this. And I don't just want to assume this is going to happen. So I try to like lead with, you know, if there's a question about it, I'm like, are they actually going to experience this? Like, is this going to happen? And it's always like, oh yeah, it's going to happen. It'll be global, and it'll be something that they see and feel. So it won't just be like, oh, another energy wave hit, and you weren't tuned in, so it missed you. Well, that's not what this is about.
It came while I was asleep? What?
I had this couple last week, Shane. It was this couple from Canada came down for a session, and you can't be together during the session. So it was over the course of 2 days. And the gentleman came first, and so funny. He's the guy who told me the joke. He was so freaking funny. And he was like, I'm not going to tell my girlfriend any of this session because we're gonna share notes later. We didn't want to influence each other. And so in his session, we were asking about the event because he wanted to know. And, you know, kind of like, where is he going to be or what's he going to experience? And it said, oh, it'll be dark where he's at when he experiences it, and he'll be sleeping. And I'm like, will it wake him up? And I was like, no, he's just going to keep sleeping. He's just going to keep sleeping. And I was like, okay. And, you know, there's more information about, you know, he'll feel differently once he is awoken and stuff. And I was like, well, is his girlfriend with him? And it was like, yeah, she's with him. Okay, so he didn't share any of this with her. And then when her session came, we're like asking the same questions about the event because she has questions about it. And where will she be? And it was like, oh, she's going to be someplace where it's dark. She actually will probably be sleeping. And it was like, so when it was like, oh, it's because part of her it's still aware, that's normal. And it was like, it was having that, oh, moment, like, oh man, I wanted to be awake. Right. And so, but she was saying what she was being given while still reacting to it. And so I was asking, all right, well, you know, when do you see this happening? It was like, oh, this is within the next couple of weeks. And I was like, well, is her partner with her? Oh yeah, he's with her. You know, he's in sleep in bed as well. Okay, so these people are describing it the exact same way. They have refused to share information until like a day or so after their sessions, and it was really fascinating to even with partners get the simultaneous like things that line up so well and things they didn't want to hear. Because she was like, when she came up, she was like, damn it. Like that was not, it wasn't self-serving. She was like, I wanted to be awake and aware and like, you know, in the event, and, you know, I want to see that's coming. And so it's really interesting, this information that's coming through. It's so cool.
So cool. So do you know what their sleep schedule is and time zone they live in? So I can stay awake during all those times?
They're on the West Coast. Oh no, they didn't. This isn't the couple that came down from Canada. This is one that came up from Sedona. Okay, so sorry, I led wrong. But yeah, this is a couple that came up from Arizona, but they also have another home on the East Coast. And I was like, do you have any plans to go back east, you know, in the next couple weeks? And they're like, no, not really. But they're kind of, this is a very nomadic couple. So they kind of go to businesses and stuff. And so if they get a call, they'll go, you know, because of this person needing that or whatever. And so it will be interesting to see if they end up over in the East Coast in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it didn't seem like they were on the West Coast. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Did it say it would wake them up or no?
It said it probably wouldn't wake them up.
Oh, okay.
And so logically, I had always thought, well, if people are sleeping and this bright light, this bright energy comes, it's going to wake them up. So like my logic mind had a preconceived idea, and then to hear it from two separate people that, no, they'll probably just keep sleeping. I'm like, what are they on, man? Ambien? Like, take any pills over the next couple of weeks. But I don't think they are. I don't think that's them. But yeah, it's interesting because that's where I'm like always kind of put into like kind of like checked. Like my ego or my logic, it's kind of always checked. It's like, no, just because you think it's going to be one way, probably isn't. Like, well, I'm just going to assume I don't know anything.
Right, because you were talking in a previous interview about how if people are in, like if it's a pilot or something like that, and it might put people in danger, he'll just experience it differently, or things that just be sort of structured in a way that people aren't harmed, right?
Right. So actually the information that came through on several sessions was that anybody who is in like precarious positions like that, where like say they're up in the air and this energy comes, they will actually be in a point of stasis almost. So it said, like one put it as like they will be in a tractor beam. Like they will be in a tractor beam. Any of the passengers who can't handle the energy will be removed. Any of them that can will experience the event, and then they'll eventually end up on ground. But it was like all this information coming through that says like certain people in weird positions will be protected. They will go where they need to go based on the ability to either handle the energy or not handle the energy, and that will be a temporary place, and then they'll be brought back to Earth. So it's really interesting, this whole like beaming off of Earth kind of stuff, and then there, you know, the whole fear porn about, you know, ships and ETs and stuff, and it's like so many people don't want to be taken off Earth, but at some point that could be the best place for you because you can't handle the light, you can't handle this impact of this energy, you can't hold it, it's not a match for you, so you have to wait for the wave to kind of recede a tiny bit, even though the energy is still there, the wave to kind of recede, and then you can be brought back down. So, but yeah, the stasis stuff is interesting. Like they're like, specifically with surgeries. So imagine somebody being in surgery, that if it was like, the surgery will be in stasis, some will be finished on the ships, some will be automatically healed with the light. It was like, what? So it's so individual. It's so dependent on like that person and the surgeon and what they're doing. And It's fascinating stuff.
It's almost like they can pause time for us down here or something and make changes and then unpause it for, you know, on an individual basis though. You can really see how
Yeah.
scientists.
That's the kind of idea that I'm getting from these sessions, is that there's going to be a kind of freeze for some people in precarious positions. And so it brings you back to that whole missing time thing, you know, that some people experience when they feel like they've been abducted or they've come across, you know, ships or anything. It's like, okay, these ships that they're saying are going to be in our atmosphere can also freeze, like put us into stasis. So, and that may not be a bad thing, you know, at that point. So
Kind of like being awake during surgery. We don't really want to be awake. You'd rather be asleep for it. So
it would be more harm to be awake than if you're like, no, get out of here. You know, don't try to stitch me up. If you're flipping out and you being awake would be a detriment to the success of the surgery, then yeah, get the hell out of here. You know, go to sleep. Sorry, I am totally blowing my cussing thing.
Oh,
sorry.
Well, hell's in the Bible. You should be able to say hell, right?
Yeah.
And damn.
Hell and damn, right? Oh Lord. I can turn Lord and Jesus into a cuss word if I'm given the chance. My daughter, she's like, I grew up in a very religious family, all right? And my daughter was like, so I'm not religious, and I'm a cusser, like just a cusser of all cussers. And one time we were pulling into a parking spot, and this person was taking a really long time to get out of the parking spot. My husband's like pulling in, and finally they leave, and I'm like, Jesus. And my daughter, without skipping a beat, she was 3, she's all, Christ. You can turn anything into a bad word. I finally had to be like, okay, I gotta teach her that Jesus was an actual person, or like, you know, the historical value of this individual, and not a cuss word. I was like, I gotta help her with that.
That reminds me of the Bill Cosby stand-up way back in the day when he said it. Him and his brother, he was Jesus Christ, and his brother was Damn It or something, and because his dad was, Damn it, will you get in here? Jesus Christ, stop doing that, you know. Yeah, it's a shame that well, Josee knows all about this because they sort of invent stuff, and she speaks French, and they sort of invent the most obscene sort of thing. It's not really a word so much, you know, in French. That's why they use the term excuse my French, because they're sort of creative with the way they cuss over there. And she's been teaching me about all this. She's been cussing me out with, you know, in chat and stuff for fun. But
do you speak French at all?
No. So I have no idea what she's saying, and I'm like, I'm going to put this in Google Translate and see what you're saying to me. And she said,
I love hearing French, anything. It's like I listen to French music all day long. I love it. And so I could really use some good French, you know, words. I guess that's still cussing, so I probably shouldn't. But I love it. I love language, man. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, she has the Josee. That's why she's Josee. Josee. Sort of a, yeah. That's why everything, you know, there's the French kiss, the French rolls with the jeans, and everything, you know, French fries.
French bread.
Yeah. French toast. That's awesome. Well, I know you're running out of time. You got about 10 minutes or anything. Is there anything else you'd like to? It's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For getting your kids or whatever. Yeah. Is there anything exciting? Do you have any other appearances coming up that we can see you?
No. This is. I was telling my buddy today. I was like, this is my last thing I'm doing for a little while, because, you know, I don't want to just reiterate the same stuff. It's like I have to go into these modes of like just getting the information, and so I feel like I've gotten a lot of information lately, but it's basically saying the same stuff. And so yeah, there's no need to, I think, talk anymore. I'm going to be quiet for a little while and just gather the information and meet people, because that's where it comes from. It's just meeting people, nose to the grindstone, getting the information, and without that being the impetus, you know, it's just meeting people and doing my job is like the main thing, getting people relief. And then if the information comes, great. So yeah, this will be my last thing, I think.
Well, you can always hop on with me and Josee and just the fun chat sometime. It doesn't have to be, you know, if you'd like to, you know. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just letting you know, because it's, you know, you're fun. People enjoy you. And they love your laugh, and just same way with Josee, and it brings people's spirits up. So just know that you've always got a place on here if you do.
I really appreciate that, because sometimes I have little nuggets, and if I don't say them when I get them, I forget about them, and then I have to go back, you know, a month later, and when I'm listening to all my sessions, I'm like, oh, I could have talked about that. I could have talked about that. So definitely, these are so detailed that I forget huge chunks of them, just like my clients do. But it would be cool to like have that avenue, and I'll take you up on that sometime. As long as it's audio, like, because then I'm always ready. But it's video, I'm like, ugh, I gotta coat my face with makeup because I can disappear on screen because I'm like so white and pale, and I gotta make sure. Yeah, I gotta put a clean shirt on. Yeah. Stains, no stains. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I can always just put a still shot of you up there, so that works.
Yeah, like the one you put up today. I'm like, oh, that's a good look. No,
I got one of you smiling. People love when you laugh and stuff. That's one of the things people say. It's so contagious.
I get so much crap from people. Well, I get less crap from people than I do, like, you know, people compliment me on the presentation of just being a genuine person, being chill. But I do get a lot of crap from people too, who are like, can you just stop laughing? Can you like be serious? This is a serious subject. I'm like, no, I couldn't be serious if you paid me to be serious. I mean, I am serious about that. Like, I can't, like, this is fun stuff. I enjoy it, and it's so my everyday that I can't be serious about it. That's ridiculous. And I'm not a reporter on TV. Like, I don't know how to speak properly in a monotone or in this dorky voice. So, and my sister and I have the loudest, most ridiculous laugh. So we have the same exact laugh. And my daughter actually asked my sister to, like, can you hurt my ears when you laugh? It's true. We got these stupid laughs that are like, ah! Anyway, so thank you.
No, it's so funny because I had somebody leave a comment on one of me and Josee's video or whatever. I deleted it, but it was like, this sucked. You guys just laugh too much. And I was like, oh, you're just a hater. Bye. You know what I mean? Because I don't, you know.
That's okay. So what it always tells me, I read this years ago, and it's so true. Your opinion of me tells me more about you than it does about me. And so whenever anybody comments like that, it tells me exactly where they're at spiritually, vibrationally. It's like, it says so much about them. Actually, anything anybody says about me tells me so much about them, and people don't know that, and they're just like, they're telling on themselves, you know. It's so funny. So yeah, when people make comments like that, I'm like, oh, you're a little bit low. You got a low vibration going. You think you don't.
Misery loves company, like they say.
Absolutely. You know, when your light is so bright, and I'm not saying mine, this is for everybody. When your light is so bright, there are going to be people who just can't handle the brightness. And so they have to turn away from it. It's too bright for them. And that should never mean that you should lower your light to make them comfortable. Absolutely not. And so that's why I refuse to, like, be serious, be disingenuous, be controlled. It's like, no, man, it took me years to, like, get rid of that stuff.
Good catch.
So, I'm killing myself right now. Okay. And then, so yeah, I'm not going back to that, nor should anybody. It's like, man, break that damn dimmer switch, shine your light. That's what this world needs. It doesn't need more serious crap. I love that you guys laugh all the time. You know, that's great. It makes me laugh. When she was, seriously, when she was like, pull harder. That math you were doing, I had a drink in my mouth. I spit it out of my mouth. And I was laughing so hard. You guys are hilarious, man.
She catches me off guard all the time. I think it's great that we can bounce back and forth like that without, you know, practicing.
You're a good team. Yeah, and your whole, you know, your whole crew. Because certainly you have a crew going on. And so you guys are all such a good team. And yeah, keep those vibes high. All right, I gotta go pick up my daughter.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Lots of love and light to everyone in the audience. And I think we're going to be back tomorrow with Nathan and more of the synchronicity, mysticism, and the Mande1a Effect. Lots of love and light to you, Allison. Thank you again.
Man, thank you guys. Thank you, Shane, and thank you, Josee, and all you guys. All right, bye-bye.
Peace.